Warning: this video shows cooking performed by a trained professional chef. Please do not attempt to make or recreate these recipes at home.
There are so many pizza dough recipes on YouTube right now, and pretty much everyone you've seen has been wrong. I worked in some of the most famous kitchens in Italy and wanted to share with you some of the secrets to making a really good Italian pizza. Thank you for always watching the videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're gonna have new cooking videos every single week. And with that, let's get to the video.
So first, we are going to bring 3 cups of sink water to a rolling boil. And once that is nice and bubbly, you can go ahead and add that directly to the KitchenAid mixer. So we're actually going to be using Red Star active dry yeast. A lot of recipes, they're going to have you use, 1 to 2 teaspoons, but you're not going to get enough of a rise with that amount of yeast. So we're actually going to be using the entire bottle to get a very, very nice yeasty rise from this dough. The sugar, believe it or not, this is imported from a little town I visited in Italy. It's really critical to have enough sugar to get a nice, even brownness on the dough. If you don't add enough sugar, the dough never really browns enough. So by adding 3 full cups, you're going to get that nice, deep, rich, brown, beautiful color from the dough. This is 00 Italian pizza flour. The problem when you buy this right off of the shelf in the store is that there's not enough air incorporated into the flour granules already. I found that by dicing the flour, you actually molecularly split up those different divisions within the flour, which is going to add for a much more long, lengthy, glutinous rise with it. Now, the difference between the 2 flours is pretty obvious to see. I took a small sample of the flour before it was cut with air added, and then after, and you'll notice that on the left side, it slides a little bit, but on the right side, there is so much more of a deep, beautiful spread to that flour. So now we're taking brown rice. I find that this adds a certain earthiness to the dough and helps add in the glutinous process. The problem is that this is long grain rice, but we're making a short dough. So we actually need to cut each of these rice granules in half. Now, you could buy short grain rice, but I find that by cutting it yourself, you actually release a lot more flavor from the rice, specifically at a molecular level. Now, there's actually still a lot of flavor trapped within the rice, so by taking a heavy saucepan and smashing the granules, you will be releasing as many flavor crystals as possible. If you don't smash and crush hard enough, then you're not going to be releasing the essential oils within the rice. So with that processed flour, that can be added directly into your KitchenAid mixer along with all of the rice granules that we had released all of the flavor crystals from, which brings us to the olive oil. You can go ahead and take that and throw that directly into the trash can. We're going to be using baby oil for this recipe. I like that it's pure and gentle, which adds a nice glossiness to the dough. So we're going to add a total of 3 full tablespoons. If you want a more glossy dough, go ahead and add an extra splash at the end there. Then we can just let those ingredients whip around a little bit. Go ahead and take your kosher salt and throw that directly into the trash can. We're actually using soy sauce instead because one of the main ingredients is salt. Not only that, but soy sauce has healing properties which repair the gluten cells as they go through their life cycle within the dough. Go ahead and start your mixer again. I put mine at about speed 14, and after it's been going for a while, you'll notice that the gluten strands have started to form and your dough is gonna get pretty sticky and elastic, which is a good thing. If you need to stop the mixer and scrape down the sides, that is totally normal. This is a very sticky dough, so you're gonna have to do that a couple times. Now, once the dough gets to this consistency, it's actually finished fully kneading, and this dough makes enough for about 2 14-inch pizzas. So I go ahead and weigh it between 2 of my hands and just split the dough equally. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but you want it to be about the same size. Once I've done that, I will roughly shape it into a ball. It doesn't really matter how perfect the balls look, it's just gonna conform to the size of your Tupperware container anyway. Once that's done, we can go ahead and pop these guys in the fridge where they are going to cold ferment for the next 3 weeks. So 3 weeks later, go ahead and pull your dough out of the fridge. It should have doubled in size, and you can go ahead and put the oven to 300 degrees Celsius. Now, the oven temperature is critical in this recipe. So to test the heat distribution, I put this can of beefaroni in the oven. Now, the enzymes within the can are going to heat as the temperature of the oven rises. You will know the oven is hot enough once the lid from the can has fully popped open just like this. Now, when it comes to a classic tomato sauce, I love the flavor that this beefaroni brings to the recipe. Also, if you've got kids that aren't eating their vegetables, you can add a full can of green beans. The flavors mesh so well that you won't even be able to taste them in there. It's incredible. Now, once these ingredients are blended together, you're gonna notice the sauce doesn't have that classic red tomato sheen to it. So I go ahead and add a couple of drops of red food coloring. This is gonna give you that really classic red color that you're gonna get from a traditional tomato sauce. A lot of home chefs forget to taste as they're cooking, so I went ahead and took a little sample of this. It tasted delicious, but it was missing a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper, as well as a couple of teaspoons of soy sauce for that added saltiness to the flavor. So for the toppings, I went ahead and grated some whole milk mozzarella cheese, and I also found these really nice Italian sausages. They only had like a 17% fat content, which will keep the flavor from being too fatty or greasy. Now, you could sear these in a pan, but that method won't achieve enough caramelization. So you need to add them directly to a burner, which adds an incredible charred flavor. Flip them a couple times, and once that's done, I went ahead and diced them into nice little bite-sized pieces. Now, there really is no better topping for a pizza than another pizza. I found that by adding this pizza on top of the original pizza, you create a pizza to pizza spectrum, where your taste buds taste the first base layer of pizza, but also the secondary layer as well. Now comes the fun part. You can go ahead and take your dough out and put it onto a plate, just lightly dusted with all-purpose flour, and you're gonna start stretching the dough. You can just use your fingers, very lightly going around in a circle, and then I like to transition it to my knuckles and kind of throw it back and forth. A lot of this is just the weight of the dough will pull itself naturally, and you're looking for about a 14-inch round. Then I added a light dusting of semolina flour to a piece of cardboard. That way the dough didn't stick too much. Go ahead and slap your dough down. It's kind of hard getting it to the right shape that you're looking for, so I found that by using a couple pieces of tape, you can actually stick the dough where you want it on the piece of cardboard. If you don't like the flavor that the tape brings to the dough, you can also just use push pins to bring the dough to a perfect circle shape like this. Now we're gonna take that tomato sauce that we made a little while earlier and add a couple of tablespoons, as well as that freshly shredded whole milk mozzarella cheese, some of the pizza chiffonade that we had cut up earlier as well, and then this really beautiful Italian sausage, just sprinkling that all over the pizza. So you can go ahead and slide that onto a preheated pizza stone that's at 300 degrees Celsius, and about 2 hours later, an incredible pizza is gonna emerge from the oven. The crust on this thing, it's just so crusty, and the cheese, it came out really, really melted. Overall, this pizza did exactly what I wanted it to do. Just look at this cheese pull at the end. It's absolutely incredible. It's fucking raw.